What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Halo Wars 2 video, and today we're going to talk about the three best, in my opinion, defensive leaders in Halo Wars 2. Now, this isn't going to be the three best late game leaders per se, or the three best, leaders that are uncrackable. This is going to come down to what I think the three best leaders are at defending their base, as well as getting up an expansion and defending that. Basically, the three leaders that I think are the most well adjusted in terms of getting up your base, defending, having an amazing home field advantage where you can spend the least amount of resources but be still super effective at defending locations. Before we get into those three leaders, I do want to give an honorable mention to Colony. Now, some people may say, well, Colony is probably the best defensive leader in the game, or the best turtle leader, or one of the best turtle leaders. But I think that his strengths really lie in his ability to steamroll. And his ability to use leader powers and drops to harass, as well as use the big drop later on, as well as the healing of Colony's 12 o'clock heal power to heal structures and units and allow them to push multiple places on the map, as well as attack. Now, don't get me wrong, Colony, again, is in the honorable mentions for defensive leaders, but I think these other three leaders are more well adjusted to doing so on a greater scale for most players. But again, I do think Colony is really good at playing defense, but I'm going to stick with these other three leaders for now, and I think Colony is more of an aggressive leader, actually, so we'll put him in another video. But for now, we're going to leave him in the honorable mentions, and we're going to move in to these three leaders that I believe are the best defensive leaders in Halo Wars 2. These are not in any particular order, but yeah, we'll just move into it now. Here we go. So for the first leader we're going to talk about today is probably one of the easiest ones, which would be, not easiest, but easiest to put on this list, which is going to be Serena. Many of you probably could have guessed this. Serena has this ability to be super, super annoying to push early on, mid, and even late game. And one of the biggest reasons for this are two things. Number one, her cryotech advances leader point that she gets on her second point, and then her leader, which creates a giant aura wherever it is when it's locked down that you have to fight in order to actually push Serena. So let's talk about cryotech advances first. Serena's cryotech advances allows her to have a frost aura around any type of turret or watchtower. So watchtower, turret, or siege turret on your main base all get their own little personal frost aura. Your cryo troopers also get a aura around them, and any nodes you take on the map get an aura around those as well. It's very well established in the community that early on, if you have 3 watchtowers and a turret as Serena, you're pretty unpushable for the beginning portion of the game, and you're pretty safe to do whatever you want. Now, what you can do as Serena actually is play really strong defense at home with 3 watchtowers and a turret, and play offensively on the map with your Bison as well as cryo troopers, taking out mini bases, capturing nodes, and things like that. And then obviously late game, you have your Blizzard, your drops, your cryo bomb and shatter, your mines, and of course, again, another zoning ability are those ice blocks that you get to place anywhere on the map at any time. Also, pro tip, when you place ice blocks, every single time you place them, you actually get leader point progression a little bit for every ice block placed. So whenever you get that leader power, even if you don't have like a battle going on or anything like that, just place them somewhere. I don't care, you place them around a node, whatever. Just place them and get them off a cooldown and let them start, working their way back. Because every time you place them, you are getting that leader point progression, which is super important in Halo Wars 2. Now, a statistic for you is this. In over 70% of games played, Onyx and above, the player who uses the most leader points usually wins. 70% of the time, which is over 70% of the time, which is a pretty interesting statistic that most of you might be interested in. But yeah, so that's why Serena's really, super strong. And again, that Bison being able to plant anywhere it wants, creating that huge frost aura. And don't forget, Serena also has the siege turrets and Kodiaks that when they shoot, they also get the ability from that cryotech advances, where when the siege turret or Kodiak shell lands, it causes a little frost aura on the ground wherever it lands and chills the units or structures that it hits. Again, slowing them down, making them less useful. So again, I think Serena definitely deserves to be in these the top 3 slot for defensive leaders in Halo Wars 2. Now let's move on to the next one. The next leader is going to be Johnson. And now, hear me out on this one. I think a lot of people will agree, some people may not. But think about it like this. Johnson has this ability early on to lock down any location they want using bunkers. You can use bunkers in tangent with your Johnson hero to heal as well as to push forward, put your bunkers around nodes, put it at an expansion that you're building on Tech 1 to get that Tech 1 up. And also you can use it to push your opponent if you want, putting a bunker near their base, putting flamers in it. So the bunker is basically a hot droppable home field advantage at any point or anywhere in the map, which is really, really strong early to mid game for sure. One of the best things you can do, actually. Now, the other thing, because we want to talk about defensive capabilities, that's what this list is all about, digging in. That first leader point you click is so good. You get turrets that siphon and can take on way more than they rightfully should be able to. Digging in also works well with your bunker because not only does it make the bunker cheaper, it makes its cooldown less as well, so you get more bunkers out onto the field faster. So guys, keep in mind another pro tip, because I try to bring these out as much as I can when I can remember them, when I'm making videos and streaming and whatever. When you're against a brute leader, so any of the banished besides Shipmaster and Arbiter, so any of the other ones, if you place a bunker next to a node, they cannot grab that node with their grunts until they kill that bunker, because the AI in the game has, for whatever reason, made it so that any of the brute leader grunts cannot attempt to grab a node while there is a structure or unit in the vicinity. I'm sure some players are hearing this for the first time going, oh my god, that's weird, because sometimes I can grab the node and sometimes I can't in the middle of a fight. Well, now you know. It's the brute grunts, we call them the dumb grunts or whatever, they will not grab a node if there is anything that they can fight in the vicinity. So keep that in mind, guys. Now pushing forward into the mid game, because it's not just about the early game, it's the mid game as well. You have your EMP Mac Blast, you have Mech Overcharge, you have a Siege Turret drop if you want it, and then later on you've got Digging in Deeper or whatever, so you can get free generators, free pads. You start putting up bases everywhere. You put cheaper turrets because you got Digging in the first leader point on them. Better turrets. You've got bunkers you can place. And then you turtle yourself into that amazing ball of either Mantis or, preferably in most situations, you get those Colossus out with a couple of Wolverines and Gales and your Johnson. And you are absolutely sitting in a fantastic position. Only a handful of leaders can take on Johnson late game. So that's my opinion on that. And we're going to move now into the next leader that's in our top 3. Again, remember guys, this is not a particular order. Any of these leaders, you can put them anywhere you want, any of these 3 leaders. We're just talking about the 3 best leaders for defensive capabilities here. So let's move on to the next leader. For our third and final leader, a defensive list would not be complete, in my opinion, without the original, or almost original, turtle beast, which is Pavium. Now, a lot of you have probably come up against a Pav on ladder. You've gotten Sentry, Bedrock, whatever it may be, and you see those mega turrets go up, and you just know you're in for a horrible, horrible experience. Especially if you're a particular leader that cannot fight late game. A late game Pav is just, it's a horrible experience. I mean, you don't want to ever play against a late game Pav on almost any map. Certain ones in particular are even worse than others. But I want to talk about why that is. So early game, you're going to go burn out 1 and 2, 99.999% of the time, right? Why is that so good for defensive capabilities? Well, You're not really playing defense early on. You're setting yourself up for defense mid to late game. You're going to use burnout. A lot of the time, depending on the map, you could go for a triple chopper opener. And what that is you go chopper, 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 right off the rip. You don't build any grunts. You're going to build pad, upgrade the first pad. As soon as that second pad it hits and it's built, you're going to burn out your main base, the upgraded pad, and the unupgraded pad, and then build a third pad, and then gen pad or gen, and then gen pad after that. And you need to sell the unupgraded pad for another gen. So you have a perfect square of 2 pads and 2 gens to burn out mid game. But again, that's up to you and how you want to do it. You could also just put the third pad on the back of your base and then just have the 2 gens on the other side. So you get an easy burnout that way, and you just have to adjust your pads late game if you want. But that's neither here nor there. So what you want to do is with pad, you want to go burnout 1, 2. Third point is map dependent, or also a preference thing. You can go into either Rain of Fire or the Limos, aka the Wraith Invaders. Wraith Invaders, I believe, are a very underused unit if you're not like in the top, because I rarely see them used, but they are so good. I mean, for that mid game, you put your leader inside of one, a couple of Rangers, Hunters with some Engineers above it, and they are really difficult to beat. You can also go for fourth point. You can either go into Mines, upgraded Rain of Fire, whatever you want. But if you're playing that defensive style, what you want to do is go for that self-healing ability, that salvage, which allows your structures to all slowly heal over time. And more importantly, if your structures are being damaged or they're going to die, or you're going to lose a mini base or a gen or a pad, whatever it may be, you can sell them at the last second and get a full refund. Or if you're just reorganizing your base and you sell a pad off to put a garage down or whatever, you get a full refund for that pad in particular. So it's very important to do that. Another pro tip is make sure that this is more of a generalized tip, but I wanted to bring it up. Whenever you're about to lose a pad or a structure or a mini base, whatever it may be, always sell it at the last second, even if you're not going to get any money back, because your opponent, if they don't get the last hit, they won't get the XP and they won't get the leader point progression for getting the kill on that structure. So make sure you guys recycle your structures before they die. Very important, because every little bit counts. And then of course, pushing forward, you guys already know, you get that late game with Pav, you get that Lich that your opponent has to prepare for, which allows you to get your expansions, get your shields, and I know it's terrible. You get your mega turrets down on 7th or 8th point or 6th point, whatever you want to do. You start building your Reavers and Engineers with your leader, and then you just sit there eating some Subway, pizza, whatever you want to do. You put on a movie, and you just watch your opponent suffer. And even if they win, you still win, because you know your opponent is just having a horrible day trying to crack you, and you're just having the time of your life turtling with Pav. That's what Pav was built for. You've got your unbreakable leader power as well, so even when they think they're about to kill your base or kill pads or whatever, or they're going to take down your cloak gen, unbreakable, you're not going to kill any of my pads or structures. Congratulations. And a final pro tip for Pav that I don't see players doing: when you do that Ultramine drop, pro tip, when you drop it on an army and you notice, they're just going to kill the mines anyway, there's no point in me dropping them. Well, if you use your unbreakable leader power right after you drop the mines cannot be destroyed by them shooting at them. So they will arm and then explode as they should, killing entire armies, while the opponent is sitting there scratching their head wondering why the mines were able to do that. It's because mines count as structures. That's why mines actually get buffed by fortifications. So keep that in mind, guys. That's a huge tip there as well, if you didn't know that. Mines count as structures, and they do get a buff from fortifications. So remember that as well. And remember the mine drop combination with unbreakable, and don't forget to use your leader's Y ability as well, because that adds a debuff element and a slow element to the units in the area so they can't get out. Yeah, guys, that's my list for the top 3 leaders for the defensive capabilities in Halo Wars 2. Let me know what you guys think below in the comments. Make sure you drop a like, a subscribe if you haven't already, and if you don't agree with the list, let me know. If you do agree, also let me know. I appreciate any and all feedback. Anyways, guys, I am your host, Yodesla. and I hope to see you guys next time.